Video games are in fact terrible. Good observation.
I hate them. They're bad. Don't
They're
play
stinky.
them.
Don't play them. No,
big
they're
stinky,
dumb. They're
big stink
stinky.
lines coming
Big
off of video
stink.
games.
Big stinky.
Just the
The
word,
big ick.
just the word video games with stink lines coming off. Okay.
Gave her the ick when I told her I was in game development.
Do you know what a really awkward situation is?
No.
So I meet people in my neighborhood. And they're like, what do you do? I'm like, oh, I have a podcast that I do on Mondays. And then they give me the look. And the look is, oh, this guy says he has a he's one of those pandemic motherfucking podcast shithead guy. And I'm like, no. And then I always have to go, no. It's a real podcast. and then Paige has to like come in for the assist and be like, no. Like there's money. There's a job. It's not.
I got into an Uber yesterday and caught a ride from the tournament back home. And the driver was like, "Hey, how's it going? How's your night?" You know, I'm like, "Oh, not too bad. You know, just came from a video game tournament. You know, just competed in that." And she just looked and just shrugged and turned her head, just went, "I don't know nothing about that. Sorry." And I was like, "No, it's cool. It's just one of these things. And if you do well, you know, you can make money sometimes." She's like, "Oh yeah, okay. Well, you know, that's cool."
That's cool.
And like actually just like, and I'm out of this conversation. And I was like, all right, fair enough. Thank you. I put my headphones on and I just went back to my phone. Like I tried, you know.
I was like having this like discussion, and I definitely am down to hear like opinions about this, right? So sometimes when I get into like Lyfts and Ubers and stuff like that, sometimes, you know, they'll strike a conversation and they're just like, oh, like, what do you do for a living? And I'm just like, oh, I just say like, oh, I'm a programmer. Oh, I'm a software engineer. I keep it pretty basic, right? And then like, they're like, oh, like what kind of software? And then I'm like, oh shit, here we go. So then I'm like, so this is where I'm like, I kind of lie sometimes because I don't know how else to explain shit sometimes. So I'm like, morally, is this fucked? Where like I get into an Uber and I'm like, oh, I'm a software engineer, I'm a programmer. Oh, like for what? And I'm like, oh, video games. And immediately they're like, oh, like Call of Duty? Do you work on Call of Duty? I'm just like, yeah.
Yeah. No, yes.
Yeah, I work on Call of
totally.
Duty. But if someone is like, yo, are you like indie or are you AAA? Then I'll be like,
oh,
you know, and then I start to talk about like my actual product, right? Or like, oh, I made an indie horror game, you know, blah, 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 blah. But like if somebody on the most basic level of understanding video games and only know like COD and they're like, oh, so do you work on COD? I'm just like, yeah.
Path of least resistance. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, because and so I'm like, is that wrong of me to you
not
know?
Even
absolutely
remotely.
Not even when I got my haircut, I'm like, you know, the barber is a situation in which you are locked in. And the conversation is going to go one of it. Oh, what do you do? And it's the first time I've been in this barber. Like, oh, I'm a video editor.
Sure.
I edit videos for YouTube channels.
Video producer. Yeah, actually.
Yeah, it's very tedious. It's very tedious and boring.
Yeah. Now the thing is, when you just say video editor or video producer, I have learned that depending on who you're talking to, they in their heads they go porn. Right. Okay. Got it. Like you're not being too specific. So I'll assume that that's the world you work in or so. But no, it absolutely is totally fine to just not need to go further into that. You know, the amount of times someone's like, oh yeah, like my kid plays Roblox. So you work on like stuff like that. Like you make video, like how to play videos for like Roblox and stuff. And it's like, yeah, it's kind of like that. Actually, it is. That's pretty much exactly it.
I'm an accountant.
Helping people how to get through the game. That's exactly what you do.
Because it's not that I don't want to like tell people what I do, but you know, there's just that clear threshold of people that just don't really understand.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so that they don't understand that there's like an outside and I don't want to sit there and have like a 10-minute conversation.
No.
Trying to explain indie games and then them still kind of sort of not get it. And maybe that's me being like a jerk about it.
No, I would say if you can feel their energy and you can tell if it's someone that's like actually like, you know, curious to learn about it, you know, you can have the conversation. But if you feel that like just like you're totally fine by that.
Had the conversation about what I do for a living with my mother maybe 15 different times. Just
Yeah.
she doesn't understand
Yes.
how any of this
Correct.
becomes food.
Yes.
Like she doesn't.
Yeah.
So
there's no.
we are currently.
My mom too.
No, for my mom, we're currently at the state where it's like it is a radio show on the internet. That's it. It's a radio show, like
similar thing,
like
yeah,
like your
thing.
Christian radio, except you play it by going to a website.
Yeah,
you know,
I have like a similar thing with my mom too. Like it's like when I used to do like Mario Party Mondays and stuff on my Twitch. Like it was kind of like a similar thing. Like she'd be like, "Oh, what are you doing today?" And I would just say, "Oh, I'm doing my Monday show." That's all I would say. Like
Sure.
I'm just doing my Monday show. And then like one day I tried to genuinely try to explain Twitch to her, and she made a Twitch account and she jumped into my stream like once and for like 10 minutes and then texted me and she was like, "I don't understand what's happening." And I was like, "Uh-oh." So then I tried to keep explaining. She made an account. My mom has a Twitch account.
It's horrifying. I'd be so afraid.
My mom has a Twitch account. So like it's so, so we just leave it at that. So today she's like, "Oh, so are you coming home today?" Because she lives in the suburbs of Chicago. And I was like, "Yeah, I'm coming home today." And she was like, "Oh, like at what time?" And I said, "Well, remember I have that show, that podcast that I have to do from 2 to 5. And she's like, "Oh yeah, that thing, the thing where you talk in the microphone." I said, "That's it. You got it. There you go. Good job."
Yeah, that's it.
Like, that's it.
They don't. It's just the inner workings of an RSS feed don't need to be understood by our folks. That's okay.
No, and that is completely fine. They do their best.
Yeah.